Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with me, Essex Hydra. I'm going to be playing the Tau Protectors in this game against the Tau Merchants, and good luck to my opponent. So, we are rocking a little bit of a weird fleet in this, going to go for some light cruisers to supplement my cruisers. Going to be sending off some fighters to begin with, as we don't have any eyes on our opponents. I think it's fairly safe to say that Demiurge are the more likely. Light cruiser spam's not quite so popular with the old Tau these days, so we're going to use our ability to use maneuvers without revealing ourselves, giggity, in order to go ahead and try and capture some of these points nice and quick. Now, you will notice my fleet's pretty damn spread at the moment, and that, well, could be dangerous in some games, but we do have light cruisers over on the left in silent running, so that's, of course, fairly stealthy, although he will be able to tell via the capture speed that this is a fairly large mass of ships. But we should be able to, thanks to our manoeuvre ability, be able to fend off anything that tries to head our way early game. And the fact that it's Tau Merchant as well generally says to me that nothing's going to be arriving particularly soon. So, as you can see, moving up to the points, trying to capture them as fast as possible. Now, the reason for the fleet changes I've decided to go for within this is mainly just to muck around and try something different, but also I think that light cruisers may have a little bit of an edge, as they can still capture points relatively fast, and they can, of course, still use silent running. Escorts, I really don't think you're going to see many of anymore. You're going to see maybe a couple per fleet. I don't think that... I'd put it this way, I think the meta's going to shift, and it's probably going to take a few weeks to really see what people are rocking, but escorts now are far, far less important, especially in terms of map capturing. But will it mean that you're still not being chased around by the end of the game by a couple of ships? Hell no, you're just going to be being chased by something other than an escort. But anywho, let's see how this game goes. So you can see already our fighters are off and on the way, and shout out to the new fighter system now. I'm going to be waiting about 12 minutes before I can send out the second wave here. So the way the new mechanic works is you send them out and they do their thing, and then they come back, and then the reset, the cooldown gets finally triggered. So now that we've spied them with our escort, we're going to recall all of our fighters. I probably could have recalled the other ones quicker once I saw his ships, but I wasn't sure which one was which, so I didn't know what to do. But anywho, now we have also gone for the Kion ability for this fleet, because simply put, I don't have any escorts to do any marking, so that's not really going to help me too much. I also don't have the lock-on upgrade for my ships. I simply have maneuvers without being identified, and I also have the obvious speed upgrade, which is, I wouldn't say essential, but it's pretty darn close to being essential for this fleet. I mean, extra speed, I mean, come on, that's probably the best upgrade in the game, next to micro warp jump, but honestly it applies to the whole damn fleet, so it's pretty awesome. So, fighters are heading up and over, and that's going to be the first few rounds of macro cannon fire heading over toward me. Those bastions have some nasty, nasty punching power at close range, so basically, I want to keep the hell away from them in this game. If I get close, they're just going to slice me into ickle pieces. So we're going to be heading away from these fighters right now because it looks like there's a wave of boarding torpedoes heading up over in the background there. Now, one of my fighters has come off of cooldown. That is good to know. But with our 48 turrets there, that looks like that might be enough to take them down and the torpedoes before we arrive back. So his fighters look like they did the loop and decided to go for mine. We don't have any more thrusting ability left, but those are going to go down. Thankfully, that was pretty close actually, pretty damn close. We could have lost quite a few crew there. Now, time to do some shooting, lay down the Dakar and the Pain. We've obviously got 2 points thus far. We sort of did have 3, but well, that's not going to last too long. So we've got a very, very slight lead on points, thanks to capturing ours a little bit quicker, which is nice. I mean, that lead of 300 points is no joke. That's going to be enough to win a game or lose a game. So if you think that capturing points as soon as possible is not important, I will beg to differ, because you will win or lose games based on this. So we're going to send off our first wave of torpedoes, and we're going to see what they can do. I'm not expecting too much to get through the turrets because, well, the way the fighter mechanic now works, it's very difficult to sort of spam these fighters out, especially all together. If some die and some don't die, they end up getting very, very awkwardly staggered. But torpedoes are heading off and out, and it does seem that he's doing a pretty decent job in terms of microing around. Their turning arc really does mean that they're not incredibly... Oh, that was a questionable, I think. Oh, no, maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's going to work. Come on, Torps! Come on, Torps! No, he's manoeuvred out. God damn it. So well played by him. Some very nice micro. That's going to buy us a little bit of time. Going to head up with that protector over off into the sunset. Use these guys to perhaps take out the ship at the back. And of course try and remember that I have other ships to look after too. So heading on over to the gas cloud now. I'm going to try and keep things fairly safe over here. Try and keep our ships alive. Don't really want to be engaging in a firefight with him shooting back at me if I don't have to. So what we're going to do is sit here and shoot him for a little bit in return. Done some nice morale damage. Generator destroyed, which is going to be very, very handy. And we're going to move these ships up to see if we can go ahead and take down one of his points. Because he has 3 right now, so he is catching up with me fairly slowly. And, of course, we do have silent running on these ships, so as soon as they've done the capture, they can do a semi-decent job of hiding, although he does have a couple of escorts by the looks of it, as he has been intermittently marking me. And it does seem one of my ships here is taking a little bit of dakka from those bastions, which actually have a pretty formidable range, it has to be said. Now, escort there is seeming to be heading down the left asteroid field. You can see on the mini-map towards my ships in the bottom left. Looks like he wants to lay down a bit of pain. I'm going to be moving away from those fighters which are heading on in, just so he's not basically shooting me when he doesn't have to be. And we're going to move this unit up here. Now you'll see that the light cruisers, in even a fairly small amount of time, do a fairly good job at decapturing points still. So I think light cruisers, if you didn't like light cruiser spams before, I think well tough. They're still a thing. Now we could probably hover there a little while longer and capture that point. I think that might be a cool thing to do. And we may be able to strip that. No, it's only a light cruiser. So the boarding of these light cruisers, not amazing. We might do... Oh, no, we're not even going to see how much crew damage we did. We did 2! Ha! I don't know if that's a crit or a regular hit, but that's 2 less crew to worry about. So we're going to head on back on over with the protectors. They have actually run into the sunset now, which has been good because it's actually bought some time for the rest of my ships to go ahead and do their thing. Now, rather clumsily, I've let my thruster ability run out for my protector up here, and that sucks, because what that means is it's more than likely now that he's going to catch up with me. This is one of those mechanics where I often question. If you let the engine run out, you can't use it until it's fully recharged. If you don't do that, you can use it as much as you like and just let it recharge a bit and thrust, recharge a bit and thrust. It's one of those things that's very, very rewarding if you manage to do it well, or remember to do it, and very, very punishing if you don't. So it's one of those things that I often question the mechanic, and I'm not exactly sure if I like it or not, but hey, it's a thing, it's there, and there you go. And yep, it seems that it's got a ship killed for me, but I certainly think there's a lot of new players I come across that probably I make use of this in order to hunt them down, especially Drakari and things like that. If you need to be able to maneuver quickly, it is a very good tip to keep in mind. If you're not doing it, that will be costing you games. So we have our protectors here. We are sending in the torpedoes, and thus far my enemy's done a really good job of microing around them. I am only 200-ish points up, and rather concerningly, he is in a decent position to capture this point back, but I'm moving up to the top left of the map to see what I can do there. Seems he's saving his cutting beams, and I was put on fire and kind of forgot about it, so that sucks. And also sitting in an asteroid field. Wasn't moving though, so that's something. And fighters heading on over to me that are probably going to take down all of my fighters. Yep, I think that's fairly safe to say. It's, yeah, not a particularly exciting match when it comes to the old fighter squadron spams, but we are decapturing points, and the light cruisers I actually think are MVPs right now, because we've done a little bit of damage. I think a little bit of damage with the protectors. They've done some hit and run, but they're really not actually doing much else. But the light cruisers have been decapturing points like mofos, basically acting like escorts. And my enemy, of course, is paying attention here to the points and respects that if they go down too far, then I'm probably just going to win based on the fact that I'm faster. So we're going to keep these ships alive for as long as we can. Head that one off into the sunset, try and keep it alive, and move on up here. So we sent some torpedoes out there to that escort, which I'm not sure if it's stealthed or not, but we have a couple of fighters currently revealing it, and I have a feeling that they're going to die and the escort is going to disappear. But we'll see. Those torpedoes are heading off and over. If we can take out the escorts, it's going to make our life a lot easier. There we go, it went into stealth, just saw from the corner of the screen, and now it's back again. But unfortunately that means the torpedoes have lost their target, which sucks. But the protectors are coming back on over. I really think at this point the only option my enemy had would be to, just given the spacing of these points, would be to split up one or two of these bastions to go and do other things, in which case that's kind of, well, what I'm banking on, because I'm split up as well. Obviously I've split up sort of 500 points worth from my main fleet, so sort of a 1/3, 2/3 split. So I think, looking at this from an observer's point of view, that would be the, let's say, suggestible tactic, perhaps, for my opponents. But we shall see how this ends up. See the bastion heading on up and over there, looking a little bit lost, trying to find my units, but they're never going to catch up. So that's one of the things about being on an objective-based system. You've got to try and use the points to force an enemy to fight you, and off you go. Now, I think what would have probably worked, I'm just sort of thinking about this as I go, there's an asteroid field here, pretty close actually to one of these points. So I think leaving Bastion inside there, leaving one inside, may be a good opportunity if anyone's sort of thinking, well, how would I beat this fleet? What would I do in this situation? I think that's probably an option to try and use some of your ships to basically camp, as it were. Maybe, yep, not the most fun, but if you know the enemy is sort of split up as well, I think you're sort of, it's not quite so bad. Aha! One lone straggler that split up, but is looking a little bit low right now, and we're just going to manage to reveal. There we go. Torpedoes are heading on over, and we're going to head off into the sunset. This could get a little bit painful. We might get a cutting beam to the face. Let's have a see. Is the cutting beam coming out? Oh, we've turned away, never mind. And time to head away into the sunset with our repair drones going, our first of 3 charges, which I've really taken my time with using. Yep, that's a cutting beam. You can see the ship down in the left here now has half health, which is 1 cutting beam, which is why I've been trying to avoid these bastions, because that would be at least 2 of my ships dead just from cutting beams. So really don't want to actually allow him to fight here. But a very juicy ram to take down the escort. That's going to help a little bit for my stealthy ships, and I think it's now time to get the hell out of there. So just taking and making use of this slow bubble stasis bomb to get some space between us, and it looks like we might be able to take out escort number 2, which would be very handy, because then these light cruisers basically have free reign in order to run around. Supercharged void shield there for his flagship. Probably should have focused on ramming this escort a little bit more. It's a little bit bad of me, but hey, torpedoes heading on out again, but it seems unlikely that one of them's going to hit, given the micro of my opponent. This game has been pretty much on point. Fighters there looking like they were mopping up the rest. So we're turning around here, trying to lay a little bit of firepower down again. And we are slowly making our way towards a victory, it would seem. We are nearly approaching the 2,000 point mark. My enemy is 600 or 550-ish points behind me, so looking pretty good, but a couple of ship kills could probably swing this if I am careless. So let's see what happens. We're going to continue trying to lay down a little bit of ranged pain. Torpedoes, again, not really been able to do our thing with them. The typical strategy of sending out a wave of fighters and then another wave of fighters followed by torpedoes just simply can't really be done anymore, just given the new system. So it's a very interesting change, and quite an interesting one for the tower protectors in particular. So we're going to try one more volley of torpedoes and see if we can finally do this, and we nearly have a repair ready, but our engines are red, and that kind of sucks. And, oh, it appears that one of my ships kind of overshot the mark there, so that's interesting. But anywho, we're going to try and decapture these, try and get total map dominance here, force the enemy to split up yet again. So approaching him from all sides with a fleet of superior speed. I think Chaos would be able to pull off a pretty similar strategy to this, or a similar play style at least. I think maybe actually splitting up within the new meta might maybe be the best thing to do. Maybe not, don't quote me on that. I'm not actually an amazing player. I just do things every now and again and win a game, so that's a thing. And, oh, he's heading over to my ships on the right-hand side. Time to get the hell out of there. And, yep, high energy turn, definitely required. And off into the sunset we go. Now, we're recapturing these. Good, we got this one, we got that one, so that's going to be 4 points, which means we're going to be zooming towards the 2,600 mark. Looks like my opponent is going for the 2 kills and would like very much to get some points in return, but we managed to get a decent distance, which I think should be sufficient to keep us alive. Unfortunately, quite a few crits coming out here, and it does seem that those torpedoes shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we can head on over to the central point now to try and recapture this. head on over with our light cruisers, which again I think have done the majority of work within this game. And once again, I don't think that kiting has been made any easier now. I think if anything it's... Put it this way, I like the changes, I just think escorts are a little bit too gimped. But maybe it's just a case of using more escorts to capture or decapture or, you know, stealth around, or maybe just to use escorts just for vision now. Maybe that's the intended change. I'm still not sure. I kind of like the new changes, but at the same time I'm concerned that there may be some that think that this will be changing the meta away from kiting and such, and oh no, that's not the case at all. But either way, I still love this game. Absolutely great fun. Let's try and do some boarding here. See what we can do. Come on. Let's take him down to, well, yeah, okay, that's going to take him down to 3 crew. Not particularly effective. Ah, he's changed direction. Okay, that's a little bit concerning. Time to get the light cruisers out of there. And, oh no, they're going to donk into each other. That's not good. And my flagship needs to use the repair drones. I think that's probably a good idea. And get those light cruisers out of there. So a little bit of a dummy manoeuvre from my opponent there, just catching me off guard as I was sort of busy trying to micro a couple of ships and fish around. But hey, we didn't manage to capture, or rather decapture, the central point. That's a cutting beam through one of my ships, and that's the ship dead. But we are slowly piling up enough points to bring us towards a victory. It's probably only some 15 seconds or so away from a victory, and that's going to be GG. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed the game. I'd love to know what you think of the new changes to the game down below. I think that the carrier change in particular needs a lot of debate and discussion. It's a very, very big change. The point capturing, I don't know. It's over to you guys really on that one. What do you think? Have you been enjoying it? Have you been getting kited? Are you a fan of the fish? Let me know. And on that note, that is enough points for a GG. Guys, well played to my opponent. Very enjoyable game, and definitely stressed my fingers with that one with a little bit of micro. Have yourself a great weekend or a great week, and see you next time.
Alvo shall prosper. Barracuda shoals launched.